Okay, we're on. Let's do it. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon and good evening, whatever time zone you're in. This is Saturday, and it's the 24th of January. And I'm very, very pleased to be able to be on this call with everybody. I appreciate being on, and I appreciate you being on. And hopefully, we can give you some worthwhile information which is useful for you. So I think today I've got Lisa Malone, who's a registered dietitian, and I think the future of the wellness or the well-being of many of the people in the US has to do with nutrition, because we've got a very sad situation with our healthcare. It's a sick care industry. It's not a healthcare. There is no healthcare. It's sick care. And so Lisa will be helping us with expert advice with regards to nutrition. And Michael Cook is a very experienced international businessman, and he and I have been working together for the past more than 12 years. And so I've got backup to help in making sure that whatever we have to offer you is worthwhile. So the first thing I'd like to do is just to mention a couple of things, 4 different diseases that are very concerning. And one of them is that 60% of the US population is obese, approximately, and 35% is morbidly obese. That's one of the diseases. The second one is diabetes. We are spending $412 billion a year in treating diabetes. One in every $4 spent is on diabetes. That's abominable. 40 million people were diagnosed in 2024. The next one is depression. That's another very big problem we have in the US is depression. Young people, an entire group of young people are committing suicide in a range of age, and also older people. So depression is also a very big problem, and there we're spending $17 billion on that in 2018. And the fourth one, which is probably the most important, is heart disease, the number one cause of death in the US. We're spending 128 million people are affected by that. So we've got 4 very serious health issues in the US that comprise most of the problems that we have. And so prevention is one of the most important elements. In fact, I think it's a fundamental necessity for us to be able to try and have a healthier nation. So what I'd like to do is I'll just show you a little documentary here for a second. And I think it's coming here. One second. And here we go. The documentary, I'm sorry, it's just coming in now.
The American healthcare system is badly broken.
The present system doesn't work, and it's going to take us down. We need a whole new kind of medicine.
We're in the grip of a very big industry, and it doesn't want to stop making money.
If I spend 5 minutes with you and then put in one of these stents, probably get paid $1,500. For me to spend 45 minutes with a patient to try to figure out what their true problem is, probably get paid $15. It's a completely irrational system.
We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a disease management system.
We're spending almost twice as much in America as any other country on earth, but our lifespan isn't even in the top 20.
30,000 Medicare recipients die each year from care they didn't need.
That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing every single week. The aviation industry killed as many people with arms.
The administration pays you based on how many patients you see.
All right, who's next? If you try and buck the system, someone says, what can you do to get your productivity up? I'm not interested in getting my productivity up. I'm interested in helping patients.
We're seeing the military just being a microcosm of the problems society's having.
Soldiers' use of prescription drugs has tripled in the past 5 years.
The medications I was on.
Only by accepting that the American healthcare system is badly broken will we be able to seek out the escape fires, the potential solutions. There are answers.
One company has figured out how to lower healthcare costs by more than 40%.
We provide incentives for people to engage in healthier behaviors.
The Army Surgeon General directed that we establish the Pain Management Task Force to take a look at alternatives to narcotics.
I was skeptical, so skeptical.
I've gotten a lot of inspiration, a different perspective. There's a different way of doing things that is possible.
If I think about what healthcare could be like, it would have a little more care in it.
The healthcare system is unsustainable. We're really mortgaging the future. Not just the health of healthcare, but the health of the nation.
So that is just a documentary, and I believe that it's very clear in its message. So we've prepared a few slides here for you to look at, and the future of personalized wellness. If we consider the fact that, as I mentioned, there is, in my opinion, there is no healthcare in America, it's sick care. We have to look at personalized wellness. We have to take more responsibility for our own health, or we have to find some way of doing prevention in a more proactive way. Allopathic Western medicine at the moment in the US is kind of reactive and it's not proactive. So we're closing the gap between bio-tracking, biohacking, nutritional outcomes in 15 seconds. We've actually got something that we're going to show you where we invested $500 million in science, technology, and innovation, passport to the future, to be able to measure eventually around 24 biomarkers that will be very important in our health. So we're looking at initially antioxidant status, which is the defense against free radicals that cause oxidative stress and premature aging. So one of the things that I'm particularly interested in is anti-aging, and I think we should age as slow as possible and as healthy as possible. So we're going to look at this roadmap, and we're looking at Raman spectroscopy, which is a Nobel Prize-winning technology, which Michael Cook will discuss that in a second. And that is a technology which we have been using for the past 20 years to identify the biomarker of antioxidant defenses against free radicals, causing oxidative stress and premature aging. So we've got 26 million scans around the world. So it's a huge database, that we can discuss. We also have a 6S quality process that is actually, Michael will discuss that, is even the gold standard for even many of the corporations and the FDA. So we'll go here. I think we'll start with Lisa. In this case, self-reporting fails 80% of users. So when we self-report, we're not so accurate. Average of rate of error in self-reporting is pretty inaccurate. And we've got chronic disease burden and leading to a huge problem around the US and the world. Lisa, would you like to talk a little bit about how we can better take care of our nutritional reporting?
Great question. And I think that is definitely a million-dollar question that a lot of people are asking themselves. And a lot of that, Lawrence, is because of misinformation. There's misinformation in everywhere we turn. Social media has created that. All types of media has, which has consumers confused, which then affects the self-reporting as well. There are a lot of apps out there that are good for self-reporting, but again, it's a self-reporting tool and it has consumers entering the data. The beauty of the Prism that I've been using for 5 years in clinical practice is that it's very objective. It's not biased. It is a biomarker, just like blood, except this is not as invasive. And therefore, the self-reporting can be eliminated or even used in conjunction with this tool to help consumers have an aha moment. And I think Michael's going to go into the detail on that.
Of that, yes. So let me see where we are here. So data without direction is noise. Current wearables track activity and sleep, but ignore the foundation of cellular health. So basically, we've got wearables like the Oura Ring and Fitbit and Apple Watch that give us a lot of information. And then what? Then we become what I call idiot savant. We become knowledgeable idiots because we've got a lot of information and what we're going to do with it. And this is where we have the next step, which is the missing piece. So, Michael, would you like to tell us a little bit about this new technology which we've got and how we're using it?
Absolutely. And I just want to comment that it's a pleasure working with you and Lisa Malone in this. And what Lisa brings to the table as a teaching registered dietitian is pretty phenomenal. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, you know, on the previous slide, you talked about 80%. And we tend to overestimate the good things we do and underestimate the bad things we do. And this technology non-invasively measures this in 15 seconds. And it's accurate. It's based on Raman spectroscopy, which the science on that is extraordinary. Won the Nobel Prize for Physics, and the Prism scanner. Now, the great slide, Lawrence. So we're taking this database that we have of Raman spectroscopy of over 28 million scans around the world, which, by the way, is the largest nutritional database. We own it. And the hypospectral absorption is what we're measuring. And it's more accurate than the Raman scan that I've been working with for the past 15 years, because what it does is it takes that new value and compares it to those 28 million tests in 15 seconds, and it tightens the accuracy up even more. And Lisa had mentioned blood work. We're more accurate than blood work because we're measuring at the end point, the actual absorption of antioxidants in the cell membrane. Blood work measures what's happening currently flowing through the blood, but we're measuring where it really matters at the end point. It's more appropriate to compare our measurement to a biopsy. And that's what the over 115 peer-reviewed published studies indicate. I hope that helped, Lawrence.
It does. So the Prism IO has been years in the making. There's been a lot of R&D to come to that, and it's a real-time scanner which shows a visual result. And this is important because you can tell people, or we can hear information, but until we see it, until we see a result in real time, we don't really take much notice. And so what we have is an interactive device. It's an intelligent device, and it's connected with apps that we've got that give real-time information. So, the old way of thinking was that our DNA is, of course, nothing changes with the DNA, but that aging was something that was inevitable and we can do nothing about. Well, to some extent it's true because that's our genes, but the influence of the genes we can influence by the expression via the mitochondria. And so there's been a lot of studies on that. And in fact, we the company that is PharmaNext Newskin purchased a company called LifeGen Technologies, which had a gene chip, and it was able to identify the expression of genes when the human genome was mapped in 2003. So that, and from there, thanks to the 75 plus scientists that we have, we've been able to produce some products where we can tweak the expression of genes, upregulate or upregulate or downregulate the gene. So here's an example. That's a gene chip. Michael, do you want to talk about this?
I would be happy to. So this gene chip technology has revolutionized epigenetics. We were taught back when I went to school that you got your genes, you're stuck with them, and we know that's not the case anymore. Well, we are stuck with our genes. However, we have learned through this gene chip technology how to measure the modulation of these genes. And we partnered years ago with a company called LifeGen Technologies that, go ahead and Google them. They were part of the Human Genome Mapping Program. They were in the Biodome. Most of you, unless you're my age, don't remember that. But just suffice it to say that, well, let's put it this way. They're the foremost authorities on the caloric restriction diet because of this. And the caloric restriction diet, I would invite you to Google that as well. It's the only diet that's been proven to give years of life. Well, how does that work? Well, that's what they wanted to know. And the way they investigated is they used primates, rhesus monkeys, which are as close to us genetically as you can probably get. But it wasn't just any rhesus monkeys. They were twins, one on a caloric restriction diet, the other on a normal diet. And the actuality of it is after just a few weeks, you could visibly notice the difference in the two primates. The one on a caloric restriction diet was more alert, more aware, more active, not necessarily more happy because they were getting less than 600 calories a day, so they were hungry. But why were they thriving otherwise? Well, that's when we started to measure the expression of genes. And what they noticed is while they're genetically identical, the expression changed dramatically in over 1,000 genes in the way that they express themselves. And our company's been able to identify nutrients in nature which will replicate 92% of those 1,000 genes in the way they're expressing themselves without nutritional intervention. And it's our most advanced product today. It's called ageLOC Youth. So again, the science behind this is extraordinary. So I mentioned we have the largest nutritional database. We also have the largest genetic database because of the efforts of LifeGen Technology and our brand ageLOC. And we were using about 75% of their resources. We bought the company in 2011. They would actually be older than our company is today.
Well, but actually, so some of the things that have come from this is that when we look at the gene expression, we also understand that we can affect the youthfulness of our genes by the food we eat and by what we should not be eating. For example, we've got all this processed food in the US, all over the world, but principally the US. We've got a lot of the food we eat is deteriorating our health. It's speeding our aging. Lisa, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely, Lawrence. And so processed food, I think we all can agree that processed food has been a problem in our country for decades. And then on top of that, we've had some confusion recently in our government, and I had to laugh because the food guide pyramid flipped upside down. And that has not helped to the confusion that's been out there. But the consistent message that you just said has been about processed food. That has never, ever been argued. But unfortunately, the convenience of it makes it accessible to the consumers to grab in a hurry. And without the knowledge of what they're putting in their body, then it does affect, as Michael talked about, our gene expression in a very negative way. So, anything else you want me to add to that, Lawrence?
No, I think the basis of what we're talking about always is obviously the fuel we put in our bodies, and if we don't understand the correct fuel, and we continually do things that are negative for our bodies, we age more quickly. So, I think this is where it's interesting, where we've got nutrition, we've got the technology that we can adopt and adapt. And I'm interested in the bottom line, which is well span and health span, the longer we live in a more healthy way possible. So the test that we have now, this little device, which you can see here, was the result of years and years of R&D, approximately $500 million to come up with this, and the 28 million scans that Mike was alluding to. And this is what allows us to have a visual result of, in real time, of where our health marker is. And this is now available to everybody, and it'll be much more effective than just the, I call it sterile, but it's just sterile information of an Oura Ring or a Fitbit, which is great. They've done a great job in educating people about markers, biomarkers, but then that's as far as they got. So here we've got this light. It's 15 seconds that goes into the meaty part of a finger, and it looks at 700,000 hyperspectral measurement analyses in the skin carotenoid levels, and that gives us a reading that we can then see. And visual results are very, very important because they're much more impactful than just a verbal thing. So this is probably one of the most important, significant slides that I'd like to talk to you about. And in fact, I'd like both Lisa and Michael to comment on this. But in the meanwhile, I want to just mention this. The one on the left that we're looking at are results where we have historic results in the US, where we've got approximately 80% of people who are scanned in the US dismally fail the test of optimal nutrition. Ideally, we should be in where the blue is, where it says high. That's where we should be. And in the US, we've got 60% in the red, which is where the diabetic people, obese, smokers, people that don't sleep well, too much sun, but basically obese and smokers and unwell, 60%. And 20%, 28% are actually where the average American scans in the standard American diet. So between the two of them, we've got over 80% of the US population which dismally fails this test. Just to put it into perspective, we've scanned thousands of people in the Mediterranean diet, and the Mediterranean diet, the majority of people are in where is the yellow and in the green. In the States, we've only got 8 and 2% in the green. So we're talking about 10, 11% in a reasonably good Mediterranean type of diet, and almost nothing in fact, it's less than 5% in the blue. So once we start looking at this and we become conscious of the imperative need to improve our diets and improve our health by consequence, and thereby actually helping to reduce our costs of healthcare, costs of medications, cost of medicines, cost of hospital stays, and so on, then we are starting to make a difference. And the way we do that is obviously through fruits and vegetable servings, and also supplements, because the quality of our food is actually very poor compared to what it is in Europe. We've got a lot of factors here, including pesticides, herbicides, pesticides, herbicides, compaction of soils, GMOs, and many, many reasons. So on the second one, on the part on the right, the slide part on the right, is results of where we have over the last 20 years started to see a shift from the left side to the right side of this slide, where majority of people who are actually taking care of their fruit and vegetable intake, their nutrition, their exercise, and so on, BMI, smoking, obviously, and where we also supplement, the difference is very marked. Lisa, Michael, if you'd like to comment on that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if I could jump in, Lawrence, and I just want to reflect back, just keep this slide up, but the slide you showed earlier showed 94% fail this test. And when I'm talking to a doctor, I let them know that, doc, 94% of your patients are going to fail this test. And sometimes they take that personally, and I have to clarify, it's not because they're your patients, it's because they're Americans. But if we look at this slide you just went through on the left, Lawrence, everybody familiar with baseball, how many strikes and you're out? Let's start at the bottom. No, go back to the one that you were, Lawrence, with the graphs.
Oh, yeah, sorry, okay.
Yeah, so look at the bottom of the slide on the left. Smoking, yes, that's 1 strike. BMI high, that's 2 strikes. Eating less than 2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, 3 strikes, you're out. You don't supplement, this is what we're talking about. We've got, if you're not doing these 3 on the bottom, you better be supplementing with a safe, effective product. And, you know, fruit and vegetable servings, 2 a day, that, guys, the National Cancer Institute's recommending around 10 servings a day because of the quality of our food supply. This graph is amazing, Lawrence. Thank you for showing that. And I apologize, Lisa, for jumping in front of you. But as I mentioned to Lawrence, I've got to jump off. I've got another engagement to go to. But I want everyone to listen very closely to what Lisa has to say throughout this, because what she's done in the dietary world is unfounded. I've been working or trying to work with dietitians for years. We now have a continuing education course for dietitians with a PhD RD from the company that Lisa's put together and headed up. So dietitians are now becoming aware of this technology and the validation it provides to be a life-changing measurement for their clients and patients of the doctor. But I want to thank you both for allowing me to be on this today.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
And Lawrence, before you move from this slide, I just wanted to set up this data just a little bit, the study. So this is from the global scans that over 20 plus years have been collected. So over 26 million data points, and then it's segmented. And so when you see that on the left, let's see, that segmentation is 38,000 subjects that they scanned with the biophotonic scanner to obtain that data. And it is correct. They aren't supplement users on the left. They have very little fruit and vegetable intake. They have a high BMI, and they are smokers. So they haven't practiced any health behaviors that have led themselves towards that health span that you talked about. I see this in my practice daily, the exact same scenario. Maybe they're not all smokers, but I do work in a weight management clinic. And the age, it's not gender specific and it's not age specific. And these are hands down the scores that I see. Everybody fails their cellular health exam. Now, what on the right-hand side, so again, 26 million people, and it is segmented to 126,000 on the right-hand side that are trying. They're trying with supplementation. They are trying with their fruit and vegetable intake, and they have normal BMIs. And when you put these two graphs on top of each other, it becomes astounding of how we actually have the ability to control our future with the way we practice safe health behaviors. At the top of the page, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and then supplementation. It's all part of the hub, if you want to call it a hub, or you can take the pillars of a table, how the spokes of a table, or I mean, how the I'm thinking about the stands of a table, the legs, that was the word. If one of the legs is gone, it falls. And wellness is the same way. And so this global data has showed us the power behind the PRISM scanner and how we can use it in practice to help patients.
In fact,
that's all I wanted to add.
No. In fact, just to bear out this, my grandchildren came from Italy for Christmas. They were here for 2 weeks, and they're teenagers. One is 17 and one is 15, and they've never taken a supplement ever, and they're just normal Italian teenagers. And when I scanned them on this Prism IO, both of them scanned in the purple, which in the US is 1% of the less than 1% of the US population. And they were automatically in the purple. When I scan the average American mom average, they're usually in the orange, and many of the kids who have a lot of stress are in the red. Elisa, would you bear that out for what you've seen?
100%. And Lawrence, I've scanned dietitians at conferences, and we do have the knowledge intellectually of what to do, but we're not doing it. And dietitians at conferences, and these are hundreds, scan no different. There'll be an outlier, just like our company data, where 95%, 94% fail the test. And there'll be an outlier, and I'll ask the outlier. I've had a dietetic student, for instance, that scored in the purple. And I said, tell me what you're doing. I always do that when I get somebody in the purple. I'm always like, please tell me what you're doing. And he practiced, as you see at the top, all those health behaviors to the point where he was a runner. He was very meticulous about his diet. He was on a plant-based diet, as you mentioned, the Mediterranean. His lifestyle, he was just a happy person. So that gets into stress and other factors, as you talked about behavioral health in the beginning. But he was not doing any supplementation. And I think that's a key point here, is that the PRISM is not biased. It's not looking at anything other than your cellular health.
100%. In fact, there are a couple of things. A person that does excessive exercise, I'm saying excessive exercise, is actually creating oxidative stress. So they more than ever need to eat, or to eat a very, very healthy, nutritious diet.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I've scanned a lot of elite athletes, and yes. And so at that point, it's nice to be able to recommend additions to their diet to help with the oxidative stress.
And the other thing that also I want to mention, because it has to do with our lifestyle choices, is stress. Stress also has a huge influence on the oxidative stress in our bodies. And I'll give a silly little example about that. I could make a statement that is verbal and create a physical, uncontrollable reaction in the person I'm talking to. And you'd say, yeah, how? How do you do that? Well, I could say something so embarrassing or to create such anger that the person may blush. Blushing is a consequence of the mind's interpretation of a statement which it finds embarrassing or offensive. So stress is another huge aspect of our health, which we've got to absolutely take into account, especially in the US, where we are stuck in traffic, and many of us have more than one job, and et cetera, et cetera. So the device, which we're going to show you in a second, is 700,000 measurements, this hyperspectral absorption point, in 15 seconds. We have over 100 peer-reviewed studies from Stanford, Yale, Harvard, and many other institutions. And this is why it's important, because we're not talking about some new development that no one's even heard about. Raman spectroscopy is actually C.V. Raman was the first Asian person to win the Nobel Prize, to earn the Nobel Prize for science. and it's Raman spectroscopy, still used today in the Hubble telescope and on the Mars rover device. And it's a very, very accurate, real-time biomarker that we can see, which is our defense of antioxidants, which is our defenses of against free radicals. And what it's measuring actually is carotenoids principally at the moment, but carotenoids is the largest family of antioxidants that defend against the free radicals. So here is where we're looking at with regards to this prism compared to other instruments that are out there that are wearables and that we could look at. So here's a full spectrum of benefits where we're looking at things that are paramount: gut health, immune function, cardio health, brain, skin, bone, eye, joint, healthy weight. All of these things, all of these aspects of our health are absolutely essential for the well-being of our bodies and for the lifespan, the well span and health span. So any one of these or several of these that are not working coherently and in sync with the rest, for example, the gut health and the brain health, they're very intertwined. Lisa, I don't know, you want to mention something about that?
Well, yeah, that goes back to in utero when God created the human and connected our brain to our gut actually through a vagus nerve. So absolutely, that and then the gut health is also affected by the processed foods.
Of course, the processed foods. In fact, when we say to people, you've got to eat more fruits and vegetables, they say, but I do. I eat 2 vegetables a day. I have ketchup and French fries. Well, come on, man. That's not exactly where we're going. So this is very, very important because this is something that's going to help everybody in every aspect with their eye health, joints, everything. So that's really important of what we have. And here is now the process of where we got to for this device. I'm just mentioning it. Here's CV Raman. The device was the size of a ping pong table, and it is now the size of a small hockey puck, an ice hockey puck. And the company also got the prize for the most innovative company in the US on the same day as Apple on the same stage. Apple got it for a large scale, and Nu Skin Pharmaceuticals got it for mid-cap companies. So here's, I think, a visual of more or less where we're going. We've got all this stuff going around, convergence of trends in global economy, social, AI, purchasing trends, etc. But eventually we've got to make it something that is personalization to us, to me, to you, to us, to our families. Because all the stuff that's going around is great, but how are we going to actually put a bridle and saddle and be able to guide all this stuff that's going on for ourselves and our families? This is what the secret is all about, is to be able to harness and to guide all of this international stuff that's going around. I mean, AI is already enough to confuse everybody because we haven't even started to scratch the surface yet. And that's huge. So that's why we're looking at this personalization of the thing. I'd like to maybe show you this little, okay, it's not going on that, so that's fine. So we'll go to the next one here. And this is the one that, this wording really excites me. Inspired by nature, powered by science. Nature is the basis of everything. Nature inspired. So when we look at the plant, the properties, the nutrient value of plant, and then we can harness that to be able to be useful for us. That's what it's about. So Pharmanex blends botanical wisdom with rigorous pharmaceutical standards. There is one person that his name is Paul Cox. He spent years in the Amazon forest and also in Iceland looking at minerals. In the Amazon forest, looking at the phytonutrient value of plants for the raw material for the supplements, that many of the supplements that we have. And this is where I get interested, and I'm excited because it is not pharmaceutical-based dogma. It is not chemical-based everything. It is plant-inspired, nature-inspired. And we are quality obsessed with this, with what they call the 6S quality process, which I'll show you in a second. But that is to be able to ensure that everything we have is absolutely according to what it states on the label. And we've got 75 full-time employed scientists that give us what we call the passport to the future: science, technology, and innovation. These are the laboratories where the scientists go and play every day, the sandbox where they go every day. And the 6S quality is selection and sourcing. So we've got 2 PhDs that go around looking at making sure that everything that goes into the product is absolutely contamination free or free of contaminants. Specification, standardization, and safety and substantiation. So if anybody's ever seen the TV program what's it called? The one with the that they show murders and so on, and they find a hair, and they kind of eventually are able to track the owners of that. Then we can do the same thing. We've got, for example, if a teacup of coffee in a swimming pool, the equipment that there is in that building will be able to identify the impurity of that coffee in a swimming pool. It's very, very, very strict quality control. So what we have is we've got products that we can guarantee money back will actually work. Because why? First of all, we can measure it. That's the big point. There's 100% refund if you take a supplement that we have and in 60 days, your antioxidant levels have not increased. By the way, your antioxidant levels will also increase even if you don't take a supplement, but you eat like a horse, like a rabbit in elephant quantities. Lisa, you want to comment on that?
Which part, Lawrence?
Raising level of antioxidants with vegetables and fruit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so there's a lot of gaps out there because it's difficult for people to eat all of the servings, as you mentioned previously, in those gaps from our global scans. And so probably to me, the most impactful of the part of the 6S process is that standardization. Yes, the sourcing, specification, safety, 100% are very important. But with it being a $150 billion industry, the supplementation industry, and that is a statistic that the Journal of the American Medical Association published in 2024. The population of the United States and worldwide, but we don't know what we're getting, all of the products that we're taking. So that standardization is critical, that what the consumer is receiving to fill in the gaps, especially a consumer that is diligently trying to get in all their fruits and vegetables. And then they know they score low on the PRISM, which will identify that they're not getting in the antioxidants and especially the carotenoids, as you've mentioned, because they are the first line of defense. And so they want to take a high quality supplement. And I have scanned many people on what they feel like they're taking high quality supplements, but they haven't been standardized with the label for the products that are for the ingredients that are in the bottle. There's a lot to that to say, and that gets into a whole supplement conversation, but the PRISM helps identify quality supplementation.
Thank you. That's qualify, quantify, test, measure, prove, and guarantee. If you can't measure something, it's just noise, as I mentioned before. So what we're looking at is we're able to have, with the device that we can measure something, in our case, measure these levels, the user compliance becomes visually track the progress, and it's 3 times more than if you don't have something to measure. The long-term retention, that is something that becomes important because we go into fads. We take something for a week or a month or 6 weeks, and then we forget about it. We go to the gym. We go to the gym the 1st of January, and by the 15th of February, we've forgotten to go. We just don't go anymore. So that's why we've got to maintain very healthy lifestyle choice and measure it and be able to stay on top of it. So we have over 115 published papers from institutions like Yale, Stanford, Harvard, and so on about what we have and what we're doing. So what we're looking at is the effect of a network of wellness from individual health to a community, and for biohackers as well. So here we're talking about trying to help not only ourselves, but the people that are in our circle of influence. And that we need to have entrepreneurs with the tools to provide objective proof of what we've got, customer loyalty, data network. So we're looking to help a lot of people from around the world. And you'll be surprised how many people we know from other places, other countries, other areas, other states, and so on, just because of the 6-foot rule. Somebody you know knows somebody else. So we're trying to make this a brand where we'll be in every household. We have 3,000 devices of the biophotonic scanner in the US, which we've had for 20 years. And that has just been eclipsed by the Prism IO, which came out on the 17th of November. And where we had on the first week, we had over 1,000 people wanting it. And we are looking at placing 10 million devices by 2030. So let me put this into perspective. Just imagine Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak in the 70s when they were in the basement of their mom's house down there. And they said they would have a computer in every home when a computer was the size of a room. And people were laughing and saying, "What are you smoking down there? I mean, a computer is the size of a room. How are you going to have a computer in every home?" And that was the genesis of Apple. Well, we are now at a point where we have zero competition at the moment. We have unique, exclusive, patented device, which takes the business like the Oura Ring and the Fitbit and the Apple Watch to a next level. And we're able there to make a huge impact worldwide. The price is going to be approximately the same as an Oura Ring. And we are looking at understanding that this is a huge business as well. The Oura Ring is, according to statistics I saw this week, was over $11 billion in sales. I mean, that's pretty huge. So we're building a healthier world. That's the mission, to combine nature's ingredients with the world's most advanced physics. That's the bottom line. That's where we're at. That's why I'm excited about this. Utilizing AI and machine learning to personalize wellness at scale. Personalized wellness. That doesn't exist. That's something absolutely huge. Empowering users to move from guessing to knowing. You need to know what your health status is, and the quality, obviously, with what we have. So this is a QR code. If you'd like to know more, if you'd like to join me in this mission of trying to help with making healthy people all around the world, please let me know. There's my contact. There's my call to action, as it were. I'm very, very interested in Lisa Malone also. You can Google her on LinkedIn, Lisa Malone on LinkedIn, and Michael Cook also. We're interested in looking for entrepreneurs that are interested in health or healthcare professionals that are interested in entrepreneurial aspects, because this is what it's about. It's about being an entrepreneur in the healthcare industry. So let's see what this one is. Let's reach your full potential. Early access. Start tracking what matters. So if you have any questions or anything like that, I'm not actually sure how to make this interactive, but please connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll also connect with Lisa, or you can. And I'd like very much to hope that we made a bit of an impact to help people make educated lifestyle choices, because there is one now, a big one, which is based on $500 million of AI meets DNA. And that's a device which we can physically measure and see. So I appreciate everybody's time on here. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for your input. And you have anything else you want to mention?
Yeah, so if there's anyone interested in the continuing education program for dietitians, I tried to put it in the chat, but it may be the chat between you and I, Lawrence. And so is there a way you can probably...
I'll try it right now. Let's see let me see 1 second. I think that's very valid. Yes.
It's a registration link.
Yes.
And even if you're not a registered dietitian, you could still join. There's a small fee that the hosting, the Eventbrite and the hosting sponsor is collecting, the $15 for the webinar. But it is a continuing education webinar. It's non-promotional. It's just going to give additional science to the device and validate.
I think you can post now on a comment. Put it in the comment, and let's see on the chat.
Okay, so I'm going to copy the link address. And now where do I put it?
In the chat.
Okay, the chat, it says studio chat, and that's where I put it before. Is that where you want me to put it again?
You post a comment. I'm hoping it to go to everybody.
Okay, well, we'll try that. But if not, they could reach out to you and get it.
Yes.
They can certainly reach out to me through LinkedIn.
Hugely important.
And hopefully they can see that.
Share.
The science is what's most important to me, the evidence-based medicine.
No,
and we have it.
Is that it there?
The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has awarded the attendees to receive 1 CPEU, which is Continuing Professional Education Units.
Yeah, so this is important. Anybody that wants to understand more, and especially the professionals, Lisa is a registered dietitian. There's another PhD also with registered dietitian, and it's 3 of them that you'll be able to get your CMEs, or continued education, continued medical education. Thanks, everybody. Lisa, thank you.
My pleasure, Lauren.
To you. And thanks, everybody, for being on the call. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Ciao. Bye-bye.